This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com and buildermasterclass.com. My name is Todd DeWalt, and it's my job to help you, the construction business owner and leader, eliminate chaos and maximize profits in your operation. I have a great interview for you today with Ken Kucera. He is the Vice President of Installed Sales and Manufacturing at 84 Lumber. And I'm not just talking about your local 84 Lumber, I'm talking about the entire company, which as a company, 84 Lumber posted $4 billion in sales. That's billion with a B, $4 billion in sales in 2020. And Ken Kucera is a big part of their growth. In this interview, we talk about a wide range of topics, including how you, the contractor, can get better value from your supplier. Information you want to share, questions you want to ask to get the most value out of your supply partner. We talk about how the lumber supply business will look different to builders in the next 5 years. We talk about tips you can use to nail the handoff from the office to the field. And in Ken's case, it's a little unique because we talk about nailing the handoff from design to manufacturing to the supplier to the field. And his team does a couple of innovative things that I think you'll find valuable. You'll hear some of the behind-the-scenes effects of COVID on a manufacturer and a supplier like 84 Lumber. We talk a little bit about servant leadership. I ask Ken the question, why is 84 investing so much in manufacturing facilities? We talk about some of the misconceptions that builders have about 84 Lumber's manufacturing capability and their installation capabilities. Speaking of capabilities, I asked Ken to talk about some of the capabilities that 84 Lumber has that builders and the remodelers and contractors could be missing out on. And we talk about how 84 wants to partner with builders. A lot of great stuff here. Every one of you listening probably has a supplier. Maybe you don't work directly with 84 Lumber, but you're going to get some good tips on handoff and how you can get maximum value out of your supplier, whomever that might be. I have a couple of things I want to share with you before we get to that interview. Sit tight. All right, I want to talk about something that is plaguing the construction industry, especially on the residential side. There's one particular issue that's at the root cause, that is the root cause of a lot of your issues, potentially. It's also forcing a lot of people to work for free when they don't have to. The problem is these two words, free estimates. Look, if you're a general contractor and you're frustrated with your subs' productivity, or you're frustrated about their ability to meet a scheduled date, think about this. How much time are they spending pricing jobs for you that never go anywhere? And think about all the other GCs and builders that they're pricing work for. How much time did you waste in the last month on meetings, conversations, doing free design work and free estimates on projects that didn't go anywhere? And then what could you have accomplished with that time? Custom home builders tell me they spend 30 to 40 hours putting together an estimate on a house. That's a tragedy to throw 30 or 40 hours a week, 30 or 40 hours of work away. And then lastly, how many profit bleeds are you dealing with that can be traced back to a lack of planning on the front end? How many awkward conversations did you have with clients because of allowances that were off or things that were missed in your estimate? Think about this. What if you could get paid for estimates? What if you could stop wasting your time on tire kickers and price checkers? What if you could stop wasting your subs' time and you could eliminate a lot of those profit bleeds? Well, here's the deal. A growing number of builders, remodelers, and even commercial general contractors are ending the practice of free estimates. A client of mine named Chris told me just the other day that he collected over $8,000 in pre-construction fees in the first half of this month. Back in episode 190 of this podcast, Travis Gardner talked about how he collected $10,000 in pre-construction fees the first month he made the switch and decided to end the practice of doing free estimates. Don't send out another free estimate until you watch this free training video that I put together for you with 3 questions you can ask to show your prospect the value of paying you for an estimate. You can go to buildermasterclass.com/script to watch it. Go get your free training video over at buildermasterclass.com/script. What's holding you back from experiencing hypergrowth in your construction business? Likely, it's poor cash flow. It happens all the time. Moving money from one project to fund materials for your next, but that's all changing. Build will pay your suppliers in cash up front and then extend you 120-day terms. Finally, a pay-when-paid solution for contractors so you can experience the confidence to bid on projects you never thought you could. They hear it all the time. Quote, "I wish I heard about Build sooner." So what are you waiting for? Head over to build.com/CLE and have your materials funded as quickly as same day. You can also check out their project cash flow estimator to calculate how much cash you're going to need to start your next commercial project. That's BILLD.com/CLE. Now, without further ado, here is my interview with Ken Kucera of 84 Lumber. All right, Ken, thanks so much for being on the podcast. How are things in the Pittsburgh area these days?
Thanks for having me. They're a little gray right now this time of year, but we'll survive.
Yeah, it's rare that we get to see the sun much in this region, the Midwestern states. So you're with 84 Lumber, and we're going to get into your background, and we're going to talk about the effect of COVID on the supply chain, some misconceptions about what you guys are up to. But let's start with one that a question that every builder is asking, which is this is builders, contractors, remodelers, anybody who's buying products and materials and putting them in place. The question is that I'd like you to answer: how can contractors get better value from their suppliers? What are the questions they need to be asking? What is the information they need to be sharing? Everybody wants to get better price. They want to get better value. They want to get more service. But that's the question. What can contractors do to get better value out of their suppliers?
Ensure that their suppliers have empathy for their unique business model, or approach to business. I think that we train our associates, and I think the most successful associates in our company, can't speak for others, are ones that are, I'm going to say, empathetic to the builder's needs. That's not just reactive. They understand fundamentally that builder's, maybe we'll say, schedule, maybe that builder's clientele, their expectations. We should be offering a value add, as in, we preach product knowledge. What are the new products that are out there? What are its features and benefits? Those are the core of what we're taught as associates when we come into the company. And I think that still holds true. I think explain your business and make sure that the person you're dealing with on our side takes the time to understand, and then value starts to happen from that.
What are some of those other values that suppliers can offer to contractors that may not be so obvious? They're obviously going to provide a good product, hopefully at a price that works, but what are some value add services that maybe you're focused on that you would like your contractors to know about?
As like a pro dealer, so 35% of what we sell to builders. Our builders account for 98% of our total business. So it's not walk-in customers. 30% thereabouts are special orders. So special orders have lead times. Special orders need to be placed and confirmed, received and staged and delivered. I mean, it just is a tragedy what can happen to a schedule when those dates aren't led. We're not leading with the dates. And so if I can hear from the builder the dates, what's your critical path? How do you sequence your trades in your given market, right? I travel the country, so I get to see different processes. That's an empathy. Give me an opportunity to be empathetic to your cadence and your sequence, and then my program. So special order capabilities are now literally a program. Nobody has these products in stock. There's manufacturing. We do door manufacturing and millwork, but windows are largely special ordered. Lead times, we'll talk about COVID later, but they were out to 11 weeks when COVID was really hammering. That's crazy. So your special order as a value is key. That's one program.
So if I'm let's say I'm a general contractor and I'm buying concrete, I'm buying steel, I'm buying lumber, rebar, all sorts of materials. What I'm hearing you say is it's helpful to go to your supplier, not just say, hey, give me a price, but to provide some information like, here's my process, here's my schedule needs, this is when I need it. And I think it's a great idea, instead of saying, hey, give me a price, and then coming back and saying, how long will it take? It's much better to be proactive and say, hey, I really need this in 6 to 8 weeks, or I need it 12 months from now. It's good to put a schedule with that request. What are some other bits of information that builders should be sending out with their RFPs or RFQs for materials that would be helpful on your side?
The wall types, the wall structures, you get into builder science. So what is your method and approach to water management? What are the finish systems? I think that a window just isn't a window. A window is the flashing products, and then you get into flashing products. It's do you prefer the preferred or performing method? What do you want to invest in? It's the handoff between the trade contractors that if I'm just doing a sales, a product sale, that's my concern. If I'm doing an installation, that's kind of inherent in that transaction, where it's not only the product sale, but it's also the start and stop of my scope, how it integrates with the entire system. I think that we provide a value in what we do, but also being around. So when warranty time comes, we honor those warranties, whether it's to the letter or not. And so you go back and you forensically look at things, and flashing systems advance as years go by, which is good. But you go back and you go, man, if we just would have coordinated with the builder on who was going to do the head flashing, who wasn't, or what they were going to use. So coordination on the envelope, the structural pack. I mean, if you're getting into engineered wood products as an example, and you're dealing with flooring options, and those flooring options are still in flux. We all should come back around and see if the slate option was picked up, but we all had stories where it wasn't. I think, just foundation systems and post locations and the structural load path, those things matter to me if I'm just selling wood. If I'm in a stick frame market, as you know, it's critical that sales representative is experienced enough to ask the questions about how you want that load path to transfer down to the foundation. And so the builder, and sometimes, is going to be, nudging that sales representative to recall that or make sure they catch that. And sometimes it's the other way, where the sales representative is helping the builder catch those things. So that's some of the communication that can happen when you get into a partnership situation where you sit down and you redline the drawings. Yeah, I'm selling you wood, and it's just, maybe it's not even a guaranteed package, but it could be so much more if you just, bring me into that situation.
Yeah, great advice. And on the commercial side, where a lot of my experience was, a couple of examples come to mind. I built a lot of large industrial distribution centers. So we're pouring 650,000 square feet of concrete slabs. And instead of just looking to an engineer to spec that mix design, we would pull everybody together and say, all right, this is what we're doing, and here are the site conditions, and this is the timing. And then the ready mix guys can say, they can talk to the place and finish contractor, and they can say, oh, I get it, so we should do this. And then on one office building project it had a lot of polished concrete floors, and by bringing everybody together, then the suppliers can say, oh, I get it, we need to do this. So everybody has a little piece of information, and there's no way to get it. And typically those little pieces of information come out in the form of, oh, if I would have known that, like you said, oh, if you would have told us that, then. So you can either go ask a lot of questions, or just give people as much information as you have, go out a couple of levels, and then they'll pick up some stuff, window flashing details, what the subgrade looks like below the concrete, what's going to be in the walls, that kind of stuff. So that's great advice.
And to build on that, maybe that's a subtitle is, I just hope that more residential builders, be they big or be they small, take I'll call it a commercial approach to the pre-construction process. Because to your point, part of my life is that, where we're sitting in those rooms amongst all the trades, and the wealth of information that gets shared when it doesn't cost anything and it doesn't impact schedule that's the process in multifamily. For a residential builder, that's hard to do, because you're going to the lumber yard and you're going to these different you're buying turnkey with your mechanical contractors or what have you. But when you get into custom and those things, I do think that many times in our stores, they'll be in the conference room, there'll be those other trades, and that's a powerful thing to do. So I think that's a good, concept for some builders to kind of take on, is that commercial approach to pre-construction.
Yeah. And it may not be every project, but maybe you get your trades together and you talk about how you want to do things differently, processes, specific areas. I can't tell you how many millions of dollars of risk I probably averted by getting roofing contractors and curtain wall contractors and siding and all of these different people together talking about details that prevent problems instead of trying to figure out how to solve them. You mentioned a term that I spend a lot of time talking about, which is the handoff. And here's my question for you is, how are you, since you're working on the manufacturing, fabrication, and then the installation side on big projects, how do you manage the handoff from the office to the field, the handoff to the installation crews? How do you think through that process? And can you tell us a little bit about the keys to an effective handoff from where you sit?
Yeah, so we as a company have been on a journey with multifamily, where you find us today is we have multifamily hubs in markets across the country. There's one in Louisville. And the idea is, hey, we're going to enter into these contracts, be it for install, be it for material, be it guaranteed material, be it what have you. And we want to have some level of parity with that commercial contractor who has project engineers and project management and site superintendents. So, and that's not to overwhelm. That's just to basically not frustrate them and not injure ourselves financially or otherwise. And so, when we do installation in that paradigm, you bring that with you. So, now you'd have if I'm doing carpentry and I have, 30, 60 carpenters out there, and I have a site level superintendent or two, depending on the size and the schedule, they're supported by an office that can, populate RFIs, communicate those effectively, bring the material to the job site, quickly change orders and communication with the customer. And then, that hub member will come to the weekly meeting to support the site superintendent. And those same people go back. So the customer sees the same limited people. So there's a team of people that support the activity that, if we're doing our job right, are never seen. But that person on the site is supported. That we found that is winning for us as a model. That's winning for our customers. It's allowed us to open more of these multifamily hubs across the country and handle that risk with a level of professionalism that our owner expects.
And what do you think are the keys to setting up that site level superintendent, the person who's going to be overseeing the installation? Maybe they weren't involved with the design, they weren't involved during the pre-construction and all of this, and they show up midstream. How are you, what are the keys to setting that person up for success when they get there?
So we found out that you have to bring in that site superintendent earlier. And so what we've done is we have a cadre of folks that do this for us, and then we'll share them between hubs depending on where the work is. Most of the time they stay in a given market, but while they're on one job, we give them the start pack, we'll call it, or the pre-construction file weeks and weeks in advance. So the second we negotiate and execute a contract, we want that site manager, and we want the trade, frankly, to have all the information, and we get them on a continual and constant update. I do it for two reasons. One is that they're aware. And then there's all kinds of great, redirects that they come up with. Hey, did you think of that? Or did you see this or that? The other thing is ownership. When you get a site superintendent touching down when the job shakes out and they really have had weeks of the contract, they need to have the contract, the plans. So they own it. At that point, there's no excuses. There's just an expectation of professionalism. If you send them out there, you had to change your plan, and they get mobilized, days in advance of the crew showing up. Then you have to really spend a week or two with them to make sure that handoff is handled in a better way. So getting involved as early as possible, to me, is the key.
Good advice. Good advice. So let's pause here. Let's talk about what you do. You're with 84 Lumber, but give us a brief explanation of how long you've been with 84 and then what you're focused on right now there today.
Came in 84 out of college. So back in 2002, came in our manager training program, started in store operations, had a desire to be a superintendent, had an opportunity to work for Dries, Cincinnati-based company in the Cleveland market where I grew up, and got to learn how to sequence a job site, get to see the job site in execution and the trades and stuff. 84 Lumber at that time was doing some installation activity in the store I came up with. We had a panel shop, and we were doing panels and installation for Pulte at the time, and we wanted to grow that program. So I was recruited quickly back to 84 Lumber to start, in that market, the install program. So that journey has led me to come to our team headquarters in Pittsburgh, where I started, I think, 2007, traveling the country as a framing program manager, focused on getting framing programs up and running for our stores. And then as the program has grown over the years, had various roles inside of installed sales. Multifamily was tied to that, going back several years now. At the end of last year, I got the opportunity to get more deeply involved in our manufacturing space. Before that, I'd always, as a framer, I would install the product. I would manage the job sites. I think I installed sales. The program is a 25% of what we manufacture as a company was going to that program anyway. So really deep connection with the manufacturing, but not formally. So I'm glad I got to do that. What I do for multifamily or installed sale is support. We're a bottom-up company. So the folks that are in those stores, the folks that are in those plants, those folks that are in those hubs and job site superintendents, I serve their needs. So I like to run a strategy, but the tactics are every day at 6 o'clock or 6:30, the phone rings and somebody needs something, and I'm glad and love to support them and just keep them doing what they're doing for their customers. So it's a servant leadership type of approach, and then as you move on, or I've moved on in my career and got the additional responsibilities, you start to kit those silos together. So if I go into a market and I have manufacturing, I want that manufacturing and that multifamily and installed team to work together really well. And having been involved in all those, I know when they're clicking and when they're not, and you can get into the personal level and make sure that you're giving an audience so they can collaborate better. And when you do that as a sales company, sales just start happening. So that's my focus.
Interesting. One question about that. Sounds like you have a lot of experience working with silos and trying to eliminate those silos. And I've found that division kind of naturally develops between these silos. There's this us versus them. What's your number one tip or hack or strategy to fix groups or silos that aren't clicking?
It's going to come back to that empathy. It's amazing to me how similar the construction space is nationally. between markets. I mean, 80% of it's going to be similar. 20% will be different. Personalities, accents, trade makeup, land. Those things, of course, will be different. But people we're a people-driven industry. Maybe McKinsey doesn't approve of that, but it still is a people-driven industry, and so you got to get to the human level. And I think when you find silos, it's the respect for specialization, but not excusing that as an exclusion. I think you've got to say, hey, I have specialized skills that we need on the team. You have yours. We all, those are not competing. Those are collaborative issues, and that's leadership. I think at times you do have to step in and provide leadership to the silos to make sure they're working together. And then if you stay committed to that, eventually they'll figure it out on their own, and you step back and let them go. I found that to be successful.
Yeah, good advice. Leadership resources. Is there a book or a speaker or an author that you would recommend that everybody listens to or reads if they want to become a better leader?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People was for me. You hear about it, and maybe you pick up nowadays on Instagram or other things. You can get the screenshots where it has the bullet points, and I think that's one level of you take away and you have a 2-minute reflection on it. But when I stopped and I read it, I'm always on a journey to be effective. I think that you can work really hard, and you can take a lot of phone calls, and you can travel as I do weekly, and you can you'll do your 60, 70 hours, but have you been effective? And I think that when you drill down into what really effective people do, and then you demand that of your time and of your teams, then you realize all the other benefits, the empowerment, the job satisfaction, the results that come with that. So that book for me was one where, we have at our 84, we have a training department. They've done a module on the 7 habits. You nominate folks that are on your team to that. And I always pick people who are really high performers that are at that crossroads in their career where you're trying to promote them to larger things, and it's just, unless they change what they're doing, they're gonna have an issue. So you like to send them there and come back and interview them and say, what did you learn? What are you going to change? And hopefully the answer is I'm going to cut away the waste and consuming things, the superfluous things that I get tied up into, to really drill in on effectiveness.
Good advice. That is definitely a classic. So let's get back to 84 Lumber. I've seen a lot of press recently that 84 Lumber is investing a lot in manufacturing facilities. Why is that?
We have to get back in some cases to where we were before the housing correction. So we had 20 manufacturing facilities at that point. We went down to a core of 4 plants. We're now in a situation where we have 10 plants. We are going to open an 11th here in Richmond. We're looking in 2 other markets for 2021, and then building a pipeline for 2022. So just to serve our stores, which these plants will do, and what they're selling, we need to get plants open for them. I think in the manufacturing space for components, it's tight in most markets. There's not enough capacity to support that which can be built. And so we're actually entering into some really interesting conversations with builders who, hey, we want you to come to market X. We want you to open a facility. We will enter into some type of a relationship with you if that helps. And those are interesting conversations. So it's the market is still strong. We believe it's going to be strong. We want to open plants responsibly. So the right size facility, the right expectation and capacity all has to be put into the pro forma. But it's really to take advantage of the capacity issues that are out there, and and then win our fair share of business and success upon that.
Before we hit record, you mentioned, I think you used the term that the supply chain is like snare drum tight right now because of COVID and other demands. Talk for a few minutes about what were some of the biggest impacts that COVID, maybe even the after effects of COVID, are having on the supply chain and specifically your part of the world, your industry right now.
So COVID, everybody, well, not everybody, the people that I talked to had an immediate reaction that everybody is going to pull back hard. And I think back in that March period, nationally, that was the immediate reaction. Hey, we're going to go into a correction here. And so we need to get ourselves prepared. Things are going to stop. In Pennsylvania, where I'm at, construction was halted. In New York State, construction was halted. In other states, it was threatened to happen. So we reviewed it as a company. We stayed on pace with it. Where we had to, change our staffing model for capacity and such, we did. Immediately, the strength of the market showed itself, and then you flip that to April and May, and it's going off the rails the other way. And so now it's staff up past where you were in the spring. We're building, we're going to sell, we're going to blow through this. And so it was this V-shaped recovery that at least happened in the housing market, happened in the stock market as well. But that was a little bit to get used to. What happened as you get into the July, August, September, and up to current is the lumber market has just been exceedingly strong. And not only the price, but also availability. And so what you had to do is in the manufacturing space, you had to meet with your customers and start to talk about alternate species. You were looking at exterior sheathing, insulated sheathing versus OSB, if that was an option, just to try and keep the builder's pro forma in check as best you could. Back to that partnership thing, and then we get with our partners, the manufacturers of windows, doors, other things, electrical components were affected by it. Many others that I'm not aware of. They had done some layoffs, and so they had a hard time getting their capacity back. And so it just rippled through the residential construction space. The narrative was always being updated and changed as new facts came to light. I guess one thing I take from it is the industry showed itself, in my opinion, to be extremely resilient in 2020. I hope most builders were successful. I think they were. I know we did very well. And if we can keep selling houses, and it sounds like the first quarter, many builders are going to build through what they have. 2021 maybe is a little more tranquil, but COVID will still be around. I think it's going to be, as we go into these winter months, the concerns rise again with the nature of this disease, that it's going to affect us in closed settings. And so we, in our store locations, stagger staffing, try and keep people out of closed spaces as we can. In the truss plants, it's a vigilance that we have to have where we're doing routine cleaning. We're breaking up lunch breaks. We allow associates in design to work remote, and it's having the support of our team headquarters here to contact trace anybody who tests positive, make the proper notification. So it's an everyday thing. I think right now we're not cocky, but we're confident that if we have an issue, we know what to do. So that's COVID.
Yeah. Let's hope that 2021 is more tranquil than 2020. I know a year ago, who would have guessed? So let's look down the road based on what you're focused on and some of where you sit and you see the industry going. What what should builders expect? I guess a better question would be, how do you think the lumber business will look different from a builder's perspective 5 years from now?
We have to provide a value add to the industry. So if I'm lumber and I'm trusses and I'm labor and I'm various other cost codes, I have to provide a value. Installed sales, I know I can show the value in that, how we manage our job sites. It's still our customer's job site, but we manage that. We make sure the material shows up on time. We make sure it's properly installed. We warrant and stand behind what we do. I know I'm cutting cycle time. I know I'm cutting carrying costs. I know that's real money to my customer. That's a win for them. We have to do more of that. I think when it's engineered product and manufactured product, that engagement with the customer, to go through and do value adds on the designs, whether or not it's installed, that save them lineal footage of joist or LVL or what have you. We have to do more of that. And then we have to weave it all together. I mean, again, if you can't vertically integrate, the next best thing is to find a company that cares about your business. Interview your supplier. If it's about price, that's great. We know many people in many walks of life who price is king to them, and I understand it's important. But to me, we have to spend more time doing total value calculations, and then we have to sit down together and say, okay, this is a value add that I can pull out the other end as a builder. We took the time to build the calculator on it, and it makes sense. That's more of that has to happen. I think pricing models, there's an opportunity to work with builders who aren't say the top 20 and put them into a program where they have the same tools as the large builders do, so that they know and they can go out and sell and they can run their performance and get ahead of it. They're not reacting to the market run because they're in a relationship where that's contemplated and they feel they have transparency and accuracy to that information. I just think more of those things. I think with technology sometimes comes separation. I think it's a little bit to get back together with folks that have a high level of care, and make sure that's who you're buying from, and prices will come in line with that.
You mentioned vertically integrated. Do you see bigger builders becoming vertically integrated? Like, one of the things in the news right now in early 2021 is Kucera. They just got a $200 million injection to keep them afloat. And it seems like their model is to be vertically integrated from the design all the way to the installation. But do you see, tell me what you think about Kucera's model.
I got to tour their first factory in Arizona and talk to some of their folks. And I mean, it's a great story. It's a company that has evolved its focus, which is necessary, but it's also a sign of intelligence. And so the pivot that they've had from what they originally envisaged and where they're focused now has been pretty tremendous. But every step along the way, they've changed from a manufacturing and distribution company to a design company. And now it's a commercially focused design company working with developers. And so I think that model is a win for them. If you look at Integra out in California, he's focused on helping builders, put that shell package together with a high degree of quality and cut cycle time. So that's probably the most applicable to a builder thinking about vertical integration. We'll see if that works. I think that for where I sit today, it's okay. Let's piece together the structural package with the labor, with management coordination. If I do that in a model where you feel as a customer you have visibility on the numbers, that there's not a hidden tax in there, then let's call that vertically integrated in a flexible way and go do business. I think that those that are going to be truly vertically integrated are going to be a few. I think it's a great manufacturing story, when it does occur, and we're going to learn from that, and I stand ready to. But Kucera, I think, with their focus now on commercial, and then with their CLT capabilities coming in line, and their design capabilities are really what I took from the last talk I attended. That seems to me a pretty winnable model for them, based on where they can get out of their facilities.
What are some of the economic indicators that 84 Lumber looks to give you an idea of where the single-family housing market is going to be a few years out, the multifamily housing market? Can you provide some resources that you guys have found to be at least somewhat trustworthy and valuable?
Standard subscription service starts. Ivy Zelman reports that we have access to. I'm part of the Alliance, which is a group that focuses on residential construction largely, and I think that getting together once a year with their builder summit, and you hear from various builders, and you get a forecast there. So it's a little bit of the starts reports we all see, with some forecasting thrown in there, with opinions about the demographic shifts that are there. And I forget the company, it escapes right now, where that looks at the U-Haul, the U-Haul traffic from one city to another. So I mean, they all have a degree of accuracy. I think that what we rely on is, 84 Lumber has been in those markets to one degree or another over the last 50 years. You kind of do get a sense of what's going to happen in there. I think the multifamily, different situation. I think the multifamily, we tend to link up with the developer, the builder, and then travel with them. And so, depending on their portfolio or their pipeline, that can rise and fall.
We mentioned that in many cases, suppliers have some value-added service, and customers and contractors say, wow, I wish I would have known. I didn't know you guys did that. What are some of the most common misconceptions that builders have about what 84 Lumber does?
Well, since we've been around, and we started as a cash and carry lumber yard. It's when you're in the airport, people still come up to you and, hey, I grew up with an 84 Lumber, and it's that lumber yard that they walked into with their father when they were little kids, and where you picked up a couple 2x4s. I think that as the company has grown and changed and changed its focus to the builder, the new construction market, we're not going to be the big box retailer. It's not our we were that to the degree that was what was around then, but now we're focused on that builder. That change that happened in the early 90s, some people are still, oh, I didn't know. So it's a little bit, we've really worked hard to market ourselves in the last several years. Our marketing department has really gotten our name out there in various channels. To your point, we found that aids our sales effort, and overcomes any objections you might have if you were trying to make a sales call. If someone can find you on social media and hear your story, it takes away that hindrance, and educates that person in very succinctly on what you're focused on today. So the one is, hey, do I just go there to get 2x4s? It's no. These stores we have stores that are doing $110 million. We have market. We crested $4 billion this year. $4.5 billion with 260 locations. We didn't get there when we had 500. So these are very large stores. I was in a store when I was a co-manager that was 5 million. So just the numbers are just huge. So,
what is there a most common thing that builders say, wow, I wish I knew you did that? Like maybe it's, I didn't know you manufactured wall panels. I didn't know you built trusses. I didn't know you fill in the blank. What are some of those, the top one or two things that people say, oh, I didn't know you did that?
For the installation program, I think it's the understanding what that program is pointed at and what it means, what scopes you do, the fact that, if I build 2 houses a year and I want you to be my framer, that you can do that. So it's inviting the customer to use your services that they may know that's there. I think some of the specialized products such as engineered wood, we have we're going to put a lot of emphasis on that program in the upcoming year with additional equipment. Those are very robust engineered wood programs supported by designers and the like. So that's a whole new program that some folks might be unaware of. So you got to constantly engage with your market and explain your capabilities, because we as a company, our owner is going to put investments in to our locations and with our managers who we see as entrepreneurs. When they find success at this level, we're going to buy that acreage next to their store. We're going to put in a manufacturing facility for millwork. We're going to put in an EWP program. We're going to put in an install program. We're going to grow and grow and grow. And so you got to check back, or you got to constantly market yourself and say, no, we're doing this now. We're doing this, and keep in touch with your markets.
Yep. I want to land this plane in a few minutes, but we'll ask this question, and then I'll ask you to share where people can connect with you. Where's the best place they can go? But the question is, how does 84 Lumber want to partner with builders?
I think the best, it's kind of back to the beginning where we want to do business with people that see us as a value, and we want to provide a value to those folks. That's got to be the coin of the realm. We're not good with transactional relationships where you like me today and you're not here tomorrow. It's not what we're built to do. We're built to take that local builder and grow with them in a market. And you reflect back when they were doing 5 houses and now they're doing 50 houses, and you're part of that story to some degree. And then that builder can look at that associate who was driving the beat up car when they came in, who's been their lumber salesman for all these years, and now is, driving a nice truck, and they've won together. I think that's where we connect best with our customers.
Good stuff. I want to be cognizant of your time. I'm sure we could talk about a lot more stuff, but we need to wrap this up. Yep. If people want to find out more about partnering with 84 Lumber, really 2 questions here. If they want to find out more about partnering with 84 Lumber and they're thinking, I like the sound of this. I didn't realize that 84 wants to partner with us. Question number 1 is, where's the best place for them to get started to partner with 84 Lumber?
If they feel more comfortable in the local market, the website 84.com will have a store locator. They can find the closest store. There's a manager and the contact information for the manager available. We're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. A search can show any number of our leadership team that's available out there to meet and start that conversation. Those are probably 2 of the best options.
Okay. And if people would like to connect with you or follow you, is there a specific place they should go to do that, or is it like, no, leave me the hell alone?
No, LinkedIn is a good place for me. I like to find what I find are interesting articles from different channels that I subscribe to and post them and share them with folks. I think that's the best usage of that tool. And so the direct message functions that are available there, I really, I review those and look to connect with people. And as I go to trade shows or other things, I like to ensure that there's a connection there. And it could be from any walk of life. I mean, you meet somebody who's into the, outlets that are connected via Wi-Fi, that they have patents, and you're talking to them, and it's extremely interesting. I'm never going to sell a light switch probably, but if I connect with that person and we're starting to bounce questions back and forth, I find that good use of my time. So that's the best tool.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, I will include links to 84.com, and also I'll include your LinkedIn link as well in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to connect with Ken, then you'll know where to go, and you'll also have the website. So great stuff, Ken. I really appreciate it. And thanks for taking the time to be on here. This has been pretty fascinating stuff.
Appreciate it. It was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
There you go. Remember, this is all about implementation. So pick something that you're going to take from this podcast, whether it's about the handoff, about servant leadership, and apply it. Make it show up in your operation. Don't be a victim of information bulimia, where you just constantly intake information and listen to podcasts and read books and read blog posts, but you never actually get any nutritional value out of it. Implement this stuff. Be sure to check out the show notes for this episode for links to the resources mentioned. And hey, if you get value out of this podcast, would you mind taking a minute to leave a review? I would really appreciate it. You can leave a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you're listening to it there. It would mean a lot to me, and it also helps get the word out there. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to head over to buildermasterclass.com for some of the resources for general contractors, builders, and remodelers. And especially be sure to get your free training video so you can get started getting paid for estimates. Go to buildermasterclass.com/script. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Todd DeWalt, DAWALT. And thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time. Are you preparing to purchase materials? Why would you settle for 30-day terms, or worse, no terms at all, when you can have 120-day terms with any of your suppliers? Finally, a finance partner built for contractors. Learn more at BILLD.com. That's build.com/CLE. Be sure to check out their project cash flow estimator that you can use to calculate how much cash you're going to need to start